And back in the day, the court of public opinion made up their mind about me, so a lot of them didn't like, and it was like, Jesus, I was the freeloader, the dummy, even an assassin's target. I was everything. And so I just said, you know what, my byline that I go by, that I really believe it's that never has a man done so little to be recognized by so many.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything. I just was there, and I was like that. And I've my friends that I've met, my best friends are still the friends that knew me before. And it's like, when you have tight family, I do, it's sort of like that saves you. Cause I had so many people going, do you need to see a doctor? Do you want, can I help you out? It's like, no, I'm fine. I know who I am.
Yeah.
So
it's funny though, because it's like, if you were more boring and you had been thrust into that scenario, if you were Oscar, the janitor who knew 8 words of English, you could imagine that probably that guy wouldn't have really stuck with people. That would have been able to move past him. But especially when you see the photos of you that young, no homo, but you're a good looking guy. It's like, it's very easy to see how you had the star power for people to really like cling on to you there.
Are you kicking me under the table?
No,
I'm kidding. Hey, I am not gay. I've never been gay. I'll never be gay. My boyfriend, he's fucking gay. No, I'm happily married.
Wait, okay. You wait. How long you been married?
I'm married now. I'm going to my 4th year in May, and I was married. I tell this story because I think it's great. I was married at David Zucker's house. Really? David, who did Airplane, Naked Gun movies, and all the, Naked Gun had OJ in it. So I thank David for not inviting Nordberg. So,
wait, but this is your first marriage, or you had one prior?
I had one prior.
Okay,
that's when I was a youngster in college.
Nice.
And then I just have a beautiful woman from Beijing.
Beijing, really?
Yeah.
And you met her out here?
Yeah, I did. I don't know if you know, I used to host the Wizard World, the largest traveling Comic-Con.
Yeah.
So I traveled with Stan Lee. We did all the DC actors and all the Marvel actors. So I traveled for 4 years all over the country. Best gig ever. And I had, it was the MC. And being the MC, we'd end the show with some of the actors. I remember Jason Momoa, who's Aquaman. We do the last hour of show is Kato, where I invite everybody in costume to come up, and we do an hour of karaoke, but as the characters, and it was widely popular.
What is, I know, like for me, if I see somebody who knows me on the street, it's always like, holy shit, you're so tall.
Yeah.
What is like the default things that you're most used to people saying when they see you?
Same thing, so tall.
Really? Oh,
okay. It's not so much appearance. It's more like, geez, I didn't know you were a fun guy. I didn't know this person. I think it's more of that. It's like, Jesus, did I judge you wrong? I think people back then, especially, but people would go like, I apologize. I had you completely wrong. And I do some kind of funny stuff on my Instagram page. So I don't think they know I had this backing of, I guess, comedy or whatever. I was always like love laughing and writing stuff. So I think it's that, but also they still think I look good. I know I'm older, but they still think, hey man, you still look like that guy. Well, I'm the same guy, kid. That's kind of a good thing.
Definitely. Do you not have interest in doing those sort of like nostalgia tours anymore, or is that still an option for you?
Well, I guess I just did last month. I think it was.
Oh, you still do it? Okay.
I just did my first autograph show. I didn't so it was kind of funny because it was packed. Really? And I was like, wow. I think the Netflix series had a lot to do with it. But I'm surprised at how many people actually, I'm sure for you, that listen, you kind of do these shows, you go, I wonder if anybody's listening. Yeah. And then they quote my true crime show, and they go, wow, people are really into podcasts. I'm sure like my show and your show for sure has bigger ratings than like CNN, MSNBC. I guarantee it.
Well, sometimes you see the viewers that they have, and they might have like 100,000 viewers during prime time, and it's if you have 100,000 on your weekly podcast on YouTube, you're looked at as being reasonably successful, but not huge. There's a lot of podcasts, random Joe Rogan podcasts have 5 million views.
Yeah, but
that's
a percentage. That's there's top percentages, also percentages of 100,000 or a million. And
but if you rewind the clock 10 years, it would have been impossible to believe that that some random actor, Joe Rogan, comedian guy, would be able to have an audience that is like dwarfing every primetime news show at the same time. Like that is, we're used to it now, but that is kind of mind blowing.
I was wondering, and maybe you can help me out. Because I met Joe Rogan, I just wondered what was the thing that got it so popular. What was the thing that said Spotify said we're going to give you this? I can't remember what was that one thing. I know he did Fear Factor and all that, but still, that's just a TV show.
I mean, to be real, I think he was very, very early, like basically
timing, right?
one of the earliest. And then I think that his style, which is kind of like, I'll talk to anyone and we can talk about whatever. That in many ways has kind of become like the default, most popular podcast style. And he was just kind of poised. He was right there for the explosion of comedy as something that is just beloved by Americans worldwide or all over the world as well. But I think he set himself up in the perfect place, built up this huge audience. Spotify at one point was really trying to solidify themselves as a real player in the podcast space, and he was just, you got to get the number one guy if you want to like really tell the world, hey, we are a platform for podcasts. So he was there.
But he was the number one guy when they got him, and just continued to make it bigger for Spotify, right? I mean, it's just. And by the way, I love the show. He's great. What he does.
He's definitely great at it. But actually, I said that it's kind of the default style for podcasts, but in a lot of ways, it's really kind of different because I remember I was driving to Palm Springs, and so I put on a Joe Rogan interview and Post Malone, and I'm probably an hour and a half in before I realized like, he has not said anything about any of the shit that I would think to ask Post Malone about that makes him interesting. You're one of the most popular musicians in the world.
Right.
You tour the world all the time. They're talking about archery. They're talking about MMA. They're talking about just the most regular shit, which that to me is kind of like not how I think of podcasting. Like for me, it's like, no, I want to ask Kato Kaelin. Like at least I want to hit like the 10 things that I wrote down that I thought were like the most interesting shit. But with Joe, it's very just, they flow. And that's kind of dope. Yeah.
And he probably did it like a 2-hour longer show.
I think it was 4 hours. Yeah,
and then,
I probably didn't finish it. Yeah.
Okay, I wonder if in that 4 they probably had to mention something about music. I think you almost have to.
It probably came up, but very minimal, really. And I think that's appealing to a lot of people. You have the most famous person in the world on your show, and then you treat him like a completely normal person.
Yeah, but also, and I think also Rogan's UFC stuff just made it even more popular for him.
Yeah,
he had that going on. That guy, it's like, wow, this guy's got everything.
And at least at that time, it was also like, oh, this is one of the most famous people doing podcasts, which now we're used to like Obama gets a podcast and nobody really cares that much. Yeah. But at that time, to have like a very recognizable, well-known person from UFC and Fear Factor, that was kind of enough to push it over the edge.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. So, podcast is obviously the new way to just, everybody's got a voice. And if you have people like an audience that they'll go, I'm gonna listen to this guy. And so it kind of has worked for me because now I can express opinion. People go like, he's not that dummy I thought he was. Well, maybe a little bit, but it works.
For sure. Just stay on like current events, because I do want to get into a little bit of older stuff. But what can you tell us where you were when you found out that OJ died?
When OJ was, I think it was April 8th. I think it was early morning. I was at home. I woke up in the morning and my phone, you get that feeling the phone is over like 200 messages.
Yeah.
And I immediately go, someone died. And then I saw that the OJ had died. And then every news outlet wanted to talk to me. And my number was, it's obviously one person gets your number. Everybody can get your number. And everybody asked to go on a show. And it's just so kind of funny because I talked to a few people that were used to be in public relations, but they said, I said, I want to just release my own thing, not do a show and just go on and I did a 30-second message on X, Twitter, and every place played it, and it got to 1 million for me, which is a lot within probably 2 hours, and it went everywhere, and it was to the point about just saying, nobody likes, as far as the kids, nobody likes losing a family member of OJ. My heart goes out to the kids. I hope this brings closure to the Goldman family, and I don't think it ever will. And then I said, I just want people to remember that Nicole was this beacon of light, and she was the greatest energy ever. And that was kind of it. I mean, not exact, but those are the points just to make.
So your relationship with OJ, or the idea of OJ, never went to like, oh, I hate you, or I have, because that would be a very reasonable assumption, considering that the prevailing assumption is that he killed his wife that you were very close with.
Yeah, I would. I think it was a sort of while I was testifying, I kept going in the sadness I had. I'd look at him and I was thinking, in my head going, why don't you just say that you did it? You're killing these people. Because I was sequestered, but I saw the videos of what he did to the Goldman family, the Browns, everybody just bawling. And I thought, admit it. And I didn't know for sure if it's guilt or not, but then it sort of, certain things happened that I said, "Oh, he's so guilty." Later on DNA came out, but it was stuff that he wanted me. He said, that Kato, you and I were in the kitchen that night, and
while you were in the McDonald's,
right?
Which you actually ate alone by yourself in your room, and then
which
he said you guys were together, and that was interesting too, because that's like, oh, he just was just hoping that you would go along with it and lie under oath and all this shit.
100%. He said that you remember you and I ate in the kitchen, and I was like, no, we didn't, because I called up my buddy, said, oh, at the time before anybody knew what was going on, I was kind of like bragging, like, hey, Tom, just had dinner with OJ. I'm back in my room. Yeah, we had McDonald's. So I was doing this bit, and so that's why I knew he wasn't in the kitchen area with him. It was just a lie completely.
Yeah.
So, and then later on, I became friends with the lead detective, Tom Lang, and there's a book, Evidence Withdrawn, or I think Evidence Withheld. It's just overwhelming of everything that wasn't used, and all the people I had on my show of